So we are back in time. We managed to
Back.
break time. That
We're back in time, yes.
that's amazing. I feel this is great. We break time. That's one of the
So it's
contribute.
so it's 10:30, but it's 11:30.
Amazing. I think that's one of the best contributions we have on humanity was practices. So today officially we break time. Great.
It's like next week is so confusing because they are breaking time. Also, in North America, it's going forward with a daylight saving, but Europe is not yet.
I starts from tomorrow. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, that's the confusing
That won't
two,
help.
3 weeks, 3 weeks.
Yeah, actually the story of time, like there's yeah, I don't remember exactly. But it's quite interesting, like where when humanity start measuring and
Mm.
proposing, it's not too long ago. It's like you will, I mean, I don't think it's more than thousand. Yeah, I don't think it's even, yeah, I wouldn't like speculate, but I read a book about this and it's in modern, I mean, it's not really old when people start agreeing time and why it comes from.
I mean, in many languages, morning and tomorrow is this, same word. Not in
What do
Japanese, but wait, in English it's not. But
you,
mañana is morning and tomorrow,
what do you mean that is
like
the
the
same?
same word,
You mean it's
like
just the translation, the literally translation of what?
use the same word, like morgen.
Ah, okay. It's like, yeah, that's weird. You mean the literally translation in every language in different
Yeah,
language.
yeah.
So what did you say in Japanese?
In Japanese it's different. Asa is morning and tomorrow is ashita. I mean, it sounds a bit similar,
So but
but
then
they are
what do you
different
what do
origin.
you use as morning?
Like good morning,
Good morning, yeah.
ohayo.
And what does that mean?
It's early.
It's early.
Yeah, actually.
It sounds without context, it sounds like you wake up complaining.
It's early.
It like don't talk to me right now. It's really early.
I didn't see it that way. That's funny.
Like that's so funny. Uh,
True, true.
interesting. Yeah, it's just stating something. Is not say is it sounds quite flat, no? Like it's just it's early.
Yeah.
Yeah, interesting. So we have like what is like we have um a triangle, a knowledge triangle with Lily, no? We have this threesome with Lily going on now these days. Yeah,
Wording. But
wording.
yeah,
Also, it's interesting because like she's also starting a PhD, no? So like you guys
yeah,
have like are in similar situations.
yeah. Who's gonna finish first?
And what I think is interesting is also she's within this framework, is like yours is within a framework of a project also, and also hers is within the framework of a project. So
Yeah.
it's interesting. We were talking with her like that is interesting. Um, Of course, so good because I'm not part of that. That is like I remember because I never heard of this kind of PhDs before, and the first time it was when somebody proposed this to me in Ars Electronica, uh, Claudia and
Daniel, no,
Daniela
Daniel,
proposed
no.
this thing. I never heard of that before, but then since then I heard a different context, like this idea of like a PhD within certain artistic context in academics.
Mm.
And so I was saying to me to Lily that it's interesting because then I mean every like the project will have their own how to say this like starting like from the base ground that the people who let's say like in your case Nuno on that framework, in her case like she was mentioning 5 people of some research group, like those people should have good intentions and are very somehow they should be nice people somehow, otherwise you wouldn't be part of that, right? If you
You
don't think
never know.
you shouldn't be part of like of anyway, like there should be some sort of trust in like from both sides to be and
Mm,
curious to listen to each other.
mm.
um but nevertheless like then the institution it will have an agenda, right, especially within these frameworks. So it's like it's not that you are proposing like completely PhD, like I mean how to say this is like the PhD it must perform within that framework of the project. But so I mean I guess like the challenge what I found interesting is like how one can uh find uh how to say this like do the work, like do the work that is required within the framework, and at the same time uh dive into its own research.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's really case by case. Like, it could be like they have the framework and they already have research topic that they want the PhD students to pursue. In that case, it's more straightforward, I think, because you know what you're going to do and how you contribute to this framework or umbrella, whatever. But for example, in my case, it's a bit like different because I'm not entirely like I'm funded by this Modena framework, but it's not that they provide me the project, right? I mean, I'm going to be helping their projects, but that's not my main project. I mean, not the
Yeah.
thesis project.
Yeah. No, of course, like
And I think both cases exist. And I don't know what how Lily is doing, but in case of your like uh this Ars Electronica thing, that was more like they have like concrete project, right? It's not like you have to propose something.
no, I guess in that case was more, I guess, because you were not forced to do a PhD. I guess that's a specific case. Like that was more you have the window open, so you are enrolled as a PhD. So it's up to you, and you have to do in that framework was 2 years of a contract. But then so then you're ready, you are enrolled, and within these 2 years you can propose. So you don't have to even start your PhD within these 2 years if you don't want to. But their work was in 2 years time, like that was the framework of the work was in 2 years. And then the idea is that if you find, I mean, in these 2 years you should find your PhD.
Okay, so it's not like that's the final project.
No, that's not your, no, because
Okay, okay.
that was their framework. But the PhD thing was is more like the formality, like the way how they can work with an external. But since that bridge is already breached, then you as a student that could have that time frame to propose. I mean, because already you are in, you don't have to be accepted somehow. So you just have 2 years to propose your own project, basically. There's
That's
somehow,
quite tough. Like, I mean, of course, it should be aligned with the
yeah,
existing project, but still, it can be very tough. If you find that, the project is not your interest, then you're not starting over, but finish you basically have 2 years to finish something instead of 4 years.
yeah. But I mean, but I guess like as you said, like I guess that should be like case by case because I remember there was this friend of mine also that she was the first one who was telling me of this, and I didn't back then. I didn't really pay too much attention of what did she mean. Like she said, like I'm doing a PhD in 2 years, basically. That was
Mm.
like I don't know, in 2019, I guess. And I think it took her like I think 4 years. Like she just graduated. And I guess it was also this is speculation because I haven't spoke with her on that specifics, but I'm assuming that that was the case somehow.
Mm. I mean, of course, like especially in engineering, it's common to do like I don't know how it's called in English, but like industrial PhD or whatever. Like while you're working, you work on PhD thesis. So you
Well,
still have your full-time job in an institution or company or whatever, but like in a research job, and somehow you formulate that or like repurpose it into a PhD thesis.
your research work.
Yeah, like your job in well, like somehow you have to. I mean, you will have a supervisor, and they will guide you. How to repurpose what you're already doing because you're already working for a company or public institution or whatever as a researcher, and there's something novel. I mean, you write papers, academic papers already. If that kind of position, if someone's there, then they can apply for a PhD, which is not full-time PhD, but still you write a PhD thesis and you get a PhD. I mean, my father did it. I don't know if it's common outside Japan, how it is in Europe, for example.
But this is very interesting also to see like how like because I'm coming like and also you're coming from this place, not from Germany. Like compare Germany with France, and I guess Belgium is more close aligned to these lines of French. Like in terms of research, I hear also things like from in seats people complain of like in French regulations to become researcher, like this title of researcher are quite like specifics, and they are quite, I mean, like in Germany, you have these kind of positions that doesn't exist in French or in Belgium, like being a professor when you don't have a PhD, for instance, or like having that like this figures of like university of applying sciences of arts. This is something that they're really separate here. I'm not saying that it's good or bad. It's just like I guess it's more classic in approach. Like the French approach is quite classic, and they don't
Mm,
see like also in the case of like seeing these things of art and sciences, of like these emergent things. In Belgium, you speak on there is one program that Clea proposes in Brussels of interdisciplinarity, which tries to do anything in between these terms of transdisciplinarity. There is another term umbrella for this. Anyway, but meaning that interdisciplinarity is just like this difference where it's just there are two disciplines that are different, so they're held in different departments clearly, and they, 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 they do an intersection, but they are different ones.
yeah,
And yeah, and in Germany, I found it's interesting how you find like for instance, this place like in Cologne, when I went to visit Nina, she explained me or she was sharing this with me that apparently that place in Cologne is
yeah. The
Kiss,
design school.
like they develop a system of education from the 70s that is applied in Germany. That is known as Cologne system, whatever. I don't know. And yeah, I don't know very too much about it, but it has this spirit on art research somehow and project. No, wait, it has this research because in Belgium they were trying to do this and it didn't work. The government didn't allow to pass that in the school where I was studying, and Peter was actually who was proposing that program because Peter was my teacher there.
Mm,
It was so it's called project-based education. So
okay.
you study by projects, specific projects during the beginning. Like normally in the bachelor studies, then you start seeing projects after you learn things. Or they prepare you, they give you classes and they give you projects, and then you go to the project with other people. But this idea of project-based education is like is more interesting because then be, the figure of the teacher, or and also I think the figure of knowledge is more liquid. It's not so static and there in front of you and on top, but it's more a guidance, which is
Yeah.
more in the spirit of research, right? It's not so much as I'm telling you, but it's more like, let me guide you. I, uh, which I think, I mean, in long term, it helps more in this idea of research and independence.
Yeah, like problem solving kind of skills.
Yeah. Huh. But it's interesting, like I mean, I have this conversation with Lily. It's quite interesting what she's doing. Like, um, I also think will be challenging, but I think it's very interesting, like what she's doing like that now.
Actually, I didn't ask her what she's doing.
Okay, okay, but then it's good because then she would see when in our conversation with her, we spend more the time like talking with her about her, and I guess you talk with her about maybe
My
yours,
project. Yeah.
and then but then so this is a complete the circle.
Well, now you have to tell me what your project is.
It's called Sigil. It's a virtual reality. It's the second phase of research. Um,
Yeah, I saw that you uploaded the video. I haven't watched it. Like I just went halfway, maybe.
yeah, like the interview, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, it's there. And also it's part of like the full documentation. And I will put also like a teaser and a trailer. That's the last part like Mario will do, but I need to give him some
Mm.
concrete guidelines how to make it. No, but wait, so going back to Lily, then her research somehow is about self-tracking,
Okay.
like this concept. Have you, I mean, I never heard of this concept before, but I guess it's kind of self-explanatory. It's like in 2010, apparently there was this idea of the quantified. There was a book actually, literally, about it was called the quantified self, and it was also in the time where like apps were like developed and there was all this trend about like tracking oneself. So
Mm.
especially there was a boom with these apps that track women's period. So in 2010, there was a whole boom of this thing with different gadgets and stuff. But very much, and I think this, if I understand it correct, from her, is very much about acquiring data through. It's not too much about like you, let's say, using hardware, but it's more in stamping data. Say like this app. I mean, you put it's not that it's using sensors. Wait, so like I guess the main difference is like what she was trying to clarify is that it's not about like, yeah, I guess sensors, but it's more about just data that is put in an Excel, some kind of an Excel sheet or something like that. And so somehow I think the framework that is Lily is about they're asking her take on I mean her take on aesthetics on cyborg. What is a cyborg right now? Which it seems very functional for them, no? When we have this discussion, I mean, we talk with her like I think she comes from a group, intersection group in France, that again it has quite solid in these things of research. So there are five different institutes, like high institutes in France. Uh, and they call themselves design, I think, research, which sounds a bit broad. They call it design research institute or something like this. It's quite broad, right term. And then as part of this research, they then now have the need somehow or they invite her. There was this window to have a PhD researcher coming from the fields of arts who can do a take on aesthetics.
Mm.
Uh, mm, which of course, and that's why I guess I start speaking like that because I guess in her case it seems very straightforward. I mean, in this on this critique on science, always, I mean, this idea of intersection of art and science, historically seeing like how art serves as the Cinderella or like the housekeeping of science in terms of shaping some research with aesthetics, and then the scientifics go and uh, um, do the research, but it's not in, but but then there is not in-depth research on science, no?
Mm.
Like if there's like biology and aesthetics, then the biology ask arts like let's do something with the final product of the research or like apply aesthetics on the research so that from the outside it's quite digestible. But from the other point of view, from the artist asking to the biologist like what is biology, then the biologist doesn't have the time or maybe doesn't seem to have yeah, there is not really a clear gain in why the artist in that project should know about biology, while in the project it's quite clear why the biologists need the artist to apply aesthetics on the project. And we have spoken this in the chats like uh, in the past. I remember, I think the first conversation we have was in Solberine. I think we have a long conversation in the breakfast about these topics.
Yeah, like the especially because you're talking about, I mean, that project, right? In Linz, like art and science.
But and I think the conversation was about design. I mean, and somehow we end up speaking design and art,
That too,
but
yeah.
it wasn't the same topic.
Was
But
it?
anyway,
I don't know.
but like so in the topic going back to Lily's. So say in her place, I mean, this is more my assumption. No, we talk with of this with Lily. It seems like so that's the invitation of that project. Lily comes to something, and again, like these people are very nice people. Lily was saying, like they should be very nice people, but nevertheless, they come from a framework. So they have an agenda, and Lily needs to perform within the institution.
Mm,
So I was saying that then say like in that specific case, then in yours also, but in a different manner, then is then uh how to deal with especially when arts and is there, I guess, somehow how to deal with the yeah the performativity of in respect to the institution and what is for one truly interesting, you know,
mm,
uh in terms of yeah, like do the job, I guess, do the job and like comply with regulations, but at the same time then doing something that maybe one is passionate about it.
yeah. That's interesting because I'm at the on the other side, you know. I'm the scientist who is inviting artists, or in my case, dancers, to have input in my project.
Right. Yeah, right. Yeah, of course, like because then you are yeah, you are coming from the more the computer, the CHI, the computer human interaction.
HCI, yeah. So
Yeah.
I already like scheduled some meetings or interviews next week to talk with
Interesting.
some of the potential users. So, but I mean, I was thinking, like I'm in a privileged position because I have the contacts. Like normally, you don't start with that, right? You have to recruit people, and it's quite hard. If, for example, you have partnership with a dance school, maybe you can do it quite easily. I mean, like Motion Bank does.
But this is interesting because like Lily, so I guess like on her case of this is interesting because these are kind of bubbles. So it is, and I guess when you go more in deep research, like these things sometimes become a bit blurry. Like for instance, like her, so her research is on, if I understand correctly, is like on aesthetics on that topic of cyber. But of course, it's like it's yeah, there's nothing. about arts in the five people in the five groups.
Mm,
Their engineering and design and human computer interaction and other things are just highly like, just technical things. And they were searching for somebody who like have what Lily said, like they were searching with somebody with technology literacy, and that was the thing, like just and what
mm.
does that mean?
You can't just hire an artist who paints.
So, but then again, like then wait, so what I was saying, so Lily is also so she's, I think, in a process where she goes to different of these labs of these five departments. They have different labs, and then they start seeing special things with again, in her case is kind of like really state of the art of the sensors. She's very interested, I guess, in skin sensors, um, and then she needs to start also foreseeing users. So
Mm,
people from these five departments were saying like, yeah, but we can put you in contact here and here and here. And then that's what I mentioned it because you brought it up, that Lily was saying something that was interesting. Let me see if I remember correctly. How was it? I think it somehow was this idea that, so since she's an artist, right? But she will be in the other side, like, as you are, like then more like finding
mm,
the users, then it's complicated because of the time constraints and money and time. Often the users that she can approach for somehow being attached of this framework won't have the time or neither the interest to get into, I mean, for both sides, like there cannot be an in-depth research, because I guess
mm,
what you will need to make something meaningful out of this connection is slow the fuck up, and then just give basically the process that Marco wanted. Like Marco, the guy who wanted to work with you and is working now with was working with Flora and
Marcelo?
Marcelo, sorry.
Marcelo?
Yeah, yeah.
You say it
Marcelo.
always different. Anyways.
Yeah, so but yeah, yeah, basically like that, like what his idea I think was like to have like in-depth development together of
In that sense, yeah.
in that sense. So Lily was saying that because of the time constraints that she is, then it's very difficult, because how to find a compromise where you find an artist who is willing to really give
Mm,
you the time, but also understanding the constraints, and you being on the other side that you have to handle so many things, especially working with technology, and if you need to make things ready, systems and all these things, and also handle the humanity part of that process,
mm,
how much information you pass to the person for the person to not feel just like utilized.
yeah. Well, in that sense, like I'm very free because I'm not dependent on anything or nothing. No one's dependent on my research, right? So I can just decide anything I want. If I want to talk to you, if I want to talk to Lily, it's fine. But if I have constraint that, for example, I have to deliver a platform for this school, this dance school, then probably it's not going to be as like I will have like similar problems she has or what you described because I have to work with specific group of people which may not be actually an interesting research to begin with. I mean, it can be interesting, but you know, I because I know that friends who might be interested in my research. But if I just approach a random, I keep saying dance school, but or like group of people, dancers who might not be interested in what I do, then it won't be a happy ending, anyways.
Ah, okay, that's what you mean. Like, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
If they force you to go to certain places because it's just part of the framework,
yeah,
already before going, because of the nature of the place you're going, it might not be at all in your in a natural intersection for
mm,
your specific research.
yeah. But in my
Yeah.
case, like I'm free, so I can. I'm gonna talk with, for example, Joanna and Annie. next week because I'm thinking about something more like start with something text based.
Uh-huh.
And, you know, but I also know that some of like even some of my friends wouldn't be interested in like taking notes just with text. I mean, I might
Right.
add images and videos, but everyone has different needs, and I already know what people are working in, what kind of media, so I can already select people because I can't have like a big platform that hosts everything, and probably
But
like that's not really HCI research.
no, yeah, but I like that Lily was basically saying the same thing, no? Like she's trying like now being yeah, she's arguing the same, like because of that reason, then she needs to have freedom to know who can she invite and also like
Mm.
have at her disposition of economic means for that, right? Like so like is also do you have access to that in your research? Like do you have some money that you can
Not
use
a
in this?
lot. I mean, it's within Modena project, so I have to talk with Nuno basically.
Okay.
It's not, but it's not like if I want a motion capture suit, which I don't need, but then it might be tricky. Like if I need to host something on a server, that's something I'm talking with him right now, which is probably possible. Like a few bucks per month kind of budget. But then
But in
if I
this
want, yeah, something big, I don't know.
But in the case, say for instance, like you're now mentioning this, for instance, like if you will start something with Annie and with Joanna, for instance, could you pay allocate some money to pay them?
I don't know. Like always, like paying people is tricky, right?
True.
Yeah. I mean, for
And,
now, it's just like a interview, so I don't think there is
okay, okay.
compensation needed.
No, but actually now this that you're mentioning this, I thought like I think I shared this idea with you at some point. I heard it from somewhere else, like also like an artist also working doing design. The person was mentioning that in some frameworks, then it will only pay when there was something like how to say this like the person will not pay just small things here and there but
Okay.
more like when there was more possibility of I mean I think like the main idea this person was saying is like uh rather than pay you 50 euros here or like something like this here and there he will pay some more meaningful money when there is something more concrete um because also he was referring to I think the whole argument was when you are for instance like if you offer maybe 50 years I don't know like it will be weird like say for instance like because of your of the because of this say that I'm in a framework and then I have some money then every time from now on, because of my research, I can pay you to meet me in these spaces. So um, say that every meeting that we have would be, I don't know, 50 euros. Um, wait, so I guess like the whole point this guy was saying that when you don't pay, like if it's like this kind of friend collaboration that happens often in the artistic field, um, then the person helps, but also there is not I mean, it's a favor like you're doing to me. So
You
it's
mean the
different.
interviewee?
Yeah. Like in this case, or maybe I'm asking you for something technical, like can you do this website? Like, can you help to fix this bug in this website? So if you do it as a favor to me, it's fine because I cannot push you also too much, right? It's
Mm.
just a favor. But if I pay you, even if and if I pay you, that's the whole point is like if I pay you any amount of sum, especially when it's really little, yeah, when this idea of like yeah, when it's not too much money, um, it becomes quite complicated or becomes odd because then
Mm,
somehow both are having this money exchange that it might
mm,
just make things more complicated when they're not needed.
yeah, I know what you mean. Also, that can skew the results.
It's yeah, I think it's yeah, I think the whole argument was like rather than doing this just when there is something more specific, especially when you don't know, when there is something that is not really clear what is it about. So then if you have the friends, so you can just ask and it's fine. You just do it as a friend if it's possible, then also if it's not possible, the person will tell you no, then it's fine. Uh, or if you find the money, then just you pay what you think is the value of that. And
I think it's something I know from Canada is I think it was clear that interviewing is probably not compensated, but if you have to perform a task like trying out interface, wearing something and record data, then I mean there has to be ethics approval, and which is the same here, I think. And I think the researcher can compensate for the hour.
that makes sense. Like, yeah, it does make sense. Yeah. I'm happy with that. I say it because I think like this will call will end. Maybe we should close this here and then we just come back shortly and we have
Yep.
to like yeah, okay. Thanks for being back in time with us.
Yes. Subscribe and like the video. I always forget to say this.